John, we talked a lot about how our eyes and our mouths tell a story. Well, I'm a hand talker. I'm always using my hands, but sometimes they get in the way, and sometimes I just feel like Ricky Bobby on set. I just don't know what to do. So do you have any suggestions?
That's an awesome point. The hands are what you use primarily to tell stories. Hands direct action, hands accentuate the point that you're trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
They can also be very distracting, right? So if your hands are telling a different story than your face is telling, you might have a problem.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that I like to point out is that if I look over here, notice how many people just looked over there. Your eyes are going to follow what my eyes do.
Mm-hmm.
And if I point over there, you're going to look over there too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I look over there and point over there, you can't hardly resist. So what you do with your hands has a significant impact on what you're trying to communicate. So be careful.
Okay. Right.
If you want to communicate something like this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pointing to you and I'm looking at you, the attention is on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine if I don't want the attention on me. But if I think I'm the star and I'm looking at you and I'm pointing to you subtly,
Mm-hmm.
it's a problem. That doesn't fit.
Okay, gotcha.
So what can you do with your hands? Well, there's a lot of things you can do with your hands. First off, be aware of what they look like in and of themselves. Second thing you can do is give them a purpose, right? Give them something to do. And then the third thing you can do is just use them to direct traffic. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when you are jittering too much, tapping this and that makes you look kind of nervous. So I feel like it's important to stay still, but you don't want to be stiff. It's okay to move around here, have a little something, but picking it, I feel like it's not.
Exactly. You just have to be deliberate with it. Just if you're gonna hold your jacket, hold it, be confident about it, and make sure you know where you're placing it. Give your hands a job. And try to, if you want to draw the attention to the jacket, draw it. You don't want to have your hands open because now you're doing too much.
Exactly, yeah. You don't want to distract from, yeah.
Especially when when it comes to the face, you have to keep your palms away.
Yeah.
So that way the focus is their hands are there, but it's not distracting.
Exactly.
And also cupping yourself properly. Hand geography can be hard sometimes, but I think it can really communicate a lot.
Like what you were just saying about, it's you want it to be intentional but not distracting or taking away from anything.
You just have to know where to place your hands. The subject is your face. You don't wanna hide it with your hands. You have to know how to incorporate your hands.
Yeah, and you also have to let them flow too. They can't be stiff because they'll come across on the camera. You can just let it, glide.
I feel like sometimes I can be awkward with my hand placement and not really know what to do, but once you figure out how to move your where to put them, just makes
organically.
Organically just makes a nice picture.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk a little about hand versus face. Almost always the face is the focus. Not always, but almost always. The question is whether the hand is going to distract. Take your hand and put it right up next to your face, just like that. All right. Now take a look at how big her hand is compared to her face. It's almost the same size. This hand has the potential to take all of the attention because of the size compared to your face. So let's talk about things you can do besides having your hand like this. Take your hand and put it back up here like this, and now just rotate it. A lot more elegant, still a little wonky, but it doesn't distract nearly as much. Now take it like this, just natural curl. Better, right? Now take it like this and bring it down in and under. So each thing we're doing is taking some of the attention away from the hand, making the hand smaller, more elegant, and less grabby, right? So we've gone from this, which you would never do in real life anyway, but you'd be surprised how many people do this, which is just as bad. Or this, right? So just by changing the angle a little bit, we've made it a whole lot better. Okay, let's take the same idea. You're gonna take this hand, it's right here, move it to the other side. You're gonna turn it this way. Exactly. It's a little weird, but it's another way to sort of, you can have both angles work. This is rarely good, right? Straight fist, karate chop. Doesn't look very elegant. That does. Okay, good. Making sense?
Yes.
Making sense?
Mhm.
Making sense? Let's go to the next step with this, right? So if we know for a fact that this is not going to work, what do you think about that?
It's not gonna work. There's too much going on.
It's not going to work, like extra not going to work.
No.
So we're going to take this and we're going to do the thing that makes me crazy. Right. Have you seen people do this?
Oh, this looks so awkward.
If you've done this, don't tell me. Right? This, it's just like, let's put the spider on the shoulder, right? And the reason it doesn't work is why?
There's just it's pointing in different directions, and to be honest, like, where do you look?
Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing. And it's confusing because you got 4 different rays coming out, right? Plus you've got this big part of the hand showing. Even if you try and do this, it's still the big part of the hand showing. And we didn't talk about this yet, but you've got this awkward angle of the wrist, right? So those are all ways to make it bad. So what can you make it good? How can you make this good? First off, you've got a better chance if you're on the other side. Not a great chance, but a better chance. Second thing you can do is you can index finger or middle finger to thumb. This is a good beginning step because now all of a sudden you've got a curl that makes sense. Once again, something to do with your hand, right? You give yourself a job. This is a job. It's a little job, but it's a job, right? Or running down your shoulder line, right? It gives it some natural reason why it makes sense. All of that makes sense? So even though we have the back of the hand showing a fair amount, that looks pretty natural because it's actually doing something. Okay, right? Makes sense? Both hands. See, when you got a natural somebody that just puts together good things, it's a pretty nice look. I would probably bring your elbows a little further, just a little bit further, so it's a little bit lower. You like that better? What do you like about it better?
She looks more relaxed.
There's more shapes to it too. It's not very like.
You bring up a whole new wonderful idea. Symmetry and asymmetry. Almost always asymmetry is more interesting than symmetry. And when you drop that one, it was very nice. If I'd have told you to do it, you probably would have done too much. But you did a really, really nice job of just letting that go naturally. Okay? Let's put them down like this. Concerns, issues, questions, thoughts?
Casual or less posed.
Mm-hmm.
So crossing arms is always an issue. It's a challenge. It's a bigger challenge than people think. So when I stand here like this in real life, you look at me and you go, hey, he's crossing his arms. Nobody thinks twice about it, right? In pictures, sometimes it looks awkward. This looks awkward. In real life, you don't see this, right? You just like don't even see it. But in a picture, you're like, what's those fingers hanging on there? Right? So what we want to do is sort of follow the same rules. So what are the things we're talking about? What makes sense? We don't want to have this big stuff here. So let's apply that to arms crossing. We're going to go like this. See what I've done here? Inside. There you go, just like that. And I'm going to let this one come in just a little bit. So we're a little bit clawy up there. Clawy meaning, Right, so you bring them together and then just push them in. That's beautiful. What do you think? Are we improving it or are we making it worse? It can be making it worse. This is where it becomes what I like, and you can like something different.
I think it might be better to like kind of move the arms in the opposite direction, like instead of being like you said, like totally symmetrical, maybe like
Absolutely.
Yeah, it feels closed to me.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little bit further out.
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
better.
So part of the reason it also feels a little close is because of the black jacket.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. We're not fixing that up.
Okay.
I'm just pointing out that blocks things a little bit. Once again, not a bad thing, but with the hands focused there, it's beautiful hand placement. Look at that. See, that's nice.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Mhm.
Okay. We talked a little bit about kind of some things you can do right up here. We're going to talk just a little bit here now about things you can do more like here, right? So, right off the bat, what are you feeling about the way your hands are?
They just feel plain.
Just plain.
Yeah.
Is there any concerns?
Maybe that they're just a little stiff.
Probably that'd be the only thing. Generally speaking, I wouldn't worry too much about them. I think what you did naturally is a pretty nice place to be. The only thing I would do personally is I would probably lift the palms up so that you can let your hands touch just the fingertips. I think that's a much more elegant look. Let's take a look, see. So what do you guys think? Go ahead and put them flat down.
Yeah, the first one.
The first one,
Why? Why do you think that makes such a difference?
posture. I feel like it plays into her posture. Like this is just like slouching back, and this elevates it up a little bit more elegant.
I hadn't thought about that, but I bet you're right. What
I
else?
feel like this is kind of like what you were saying before about having it like flat like this, like having it flat on the table. It's like it's a little nicer if you have like a little like something.
Yeah,
Shape.
a little something. It's also, I think, having to do with the length of the arm. So if her hand is this, we have this going on, right? But if it's more, I can't do it. I don't have
More
hands.
flex.
It's a little more straight line. It's a gorgeous look, right? Angles and lines and curves are about what we have to work with, right? So we want to take advantage of it. And this is just a gorgeous line, right? So take advantage of it. When you have a chance to put your hand on something, don't put your hand on something. Put your hand on something. Remember, you have a chance now to help direct and tell a story. So tell the story. You are engaging with something in the set for a reason. So make it elegant. And you can do that by lengthening the line, by keeping the angle beautiful. Okay? Next thing I want you to do is one of the favorite things that, okay, we talked about giving your hands a job. This is hard for a lot of people. So one of the go-to things is give them a job, hands in pockets. All right, so let's talk about hands in pockets. We're gonna take this picture. All right. So hands tell stories, hands add directions. Hands in pockets are wonderful and challenging. So if you're looking at her 8 fingers that are showing, what are they pointing at?
Her crotch.
Exactly. Which may not be what you want, but I can suggest that you should know, right? More often than not, I do not want fingers pointing out when you've got your hands in your front pockets. You're going to have your thumb pointing out, that's fine. But when you have 4 fingers pointing out, this just draws attention to where you don't want to draw attention. Make sense? Do you agree? I agree. Also, back to the symmetry thing, I really like one hand. There you go. Look at that. Give me a little bit of pull up. Remember using the hands like you did on the table, just a little bit of a touch there, and let the elbow come out just a smidge. just a smidge, tiniest amount. If you do too much, it looks obvious. We don't want to look like high school girl posing. There you go. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about where that hand is on the thigh, but that's really nice. I love that. If you guys disagree, you need to say something.
I feel like the arm to the right of me, your left, is like a little too far, and I think like a little bit of
yeah,
space.
be out a little
between-
bit, blending in with your body.
Right, we talked about angles. Angles, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. Right? So, we got that elbow out. Right? Just like that. And this one's coming up. What I would like you to do with this hand is I want you to think always, 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 and this I admit may be a me thing, but your index finger never comes further forward than the seam of your jeans. Never, ever, ever. Never, ever, 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 ever.
Okay.
Okay? So, and can based on what we talked about, can you predict why that's important to me?
The
Think
hand
just
be
looks awkward. As soon as your hand comes around here, now I'm seeing the front of the back of your hand.
Too much. Too much.
It's
Like a
just,
claw.
and that's not what we want to see. You know, my rule is it's an easy one to follow because you know where the seam of your jeans is. Even if you're not wearing jeans, right? You know where the seam of your jeans is. Index finger stays on the seam of the jeans. You're never going to have a problem. Never ever going to have a problem. And that was. We're going to do that again, right? You got that? Good, good, good. Let it come on a little bit. There you go. Ooh, look at that. That's a great shot right there. I could tell. Do a little happy, happy, joy, joy. Look at that. There's a little stiffness in the shoulder. I can feel the trapezius muscles tightening up on her. But once again, we're working on details here. The details, the more you work on them, the more stiff things get. Do this often enough so it's automatic, and it won't be a problem. Love the hand. Perfect. Wonderful.
I feel like it might be nice to keep your hands in your pocket the way it is, but then do what we're doing with the table with your other one, kind of make an angle with your shoulders.
We're talking about angles and angles.
The other way, yeah, the shoulder down.
Let's bring this, put this back in the pocket that you had. And let that go. This triangle. Triangles are power. Triangles are power. We got a great triangle there. And especially, you could probably work either shoulder and make that work. Yeah, let that elbow come straight out. Yeah, because then you got a big triangle. Yeah, yeah. So triangles are power. Oh, look at that!
Oh yeah, there you
We're
go.
going to hit that shot just because it's worth
Eyebrow.
hitting. Oh, looky there. I don't have a wide enough angle to be able to get the whole scene, but that is some nice, from my perspective. This hand looks solid. This elbow works great right in there. Great hand. Everything's great. Leading line. We haven't talked about leading lines, but that's one of the things you can do with your hands is direct attention, directing attention straight up to her face. Right? Beautiful. One more thing we're going to do with you in this space. The back pockets.
Yes.
Hands in the back pockets.
So resting.
Yeah, still resting. Back pockets are amazing because guess what it does for your hands?
Hides.
They disappear. You can't go wrong with your hands in the back pockets. But what the possible consequence is a loss of your elbows, right? So you're doing a great job right now just letting your elbows fall forward. A lot of times people pull their elbows back and then that looks odd. But as long as you let the elbows fall naturally forward, it's a really, really nice way to go. Yeah, there's no bad pictures. See, we've eliminated the problem. It's just not there. You don't have to worry about the hands at all. Elbows are looking great. She's doing all the other stuff well too. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so think about the things we've talked about so far. You live in that space for a few minutes. You get a chance to do whatever you want with your hands in that space, sitting in that chair. Considering the things we talked about, what do you think would be a good place for you to put your hands? Where do you think you want to start with?
I have permission to move
You have
freely.
permission to move freely. All right, have you modeled before?
Oh my god. Never.
All right, let's talk real quick about that. Can you see the picture that I just took? So this is not a criticism.
I'm okay with
You're
criticism.
fabulous in all ways. Notice how the hands are drooping down. Now I cropped off the edge there because my camera's not wide enough to show that. Call that the bunches of bananas look. It looks like a bunch of bananas hanging down there,
Yes.
right? Once again, there's just being aware and being able to make the choice. Is that the look I want is a reasonable thing. You can say, that is 100% what I was going for. And you win. Because if that's what you were going for, that's what you got. I just want to suggest that maybe not what you wanted, to have a bunch of bananas hanging off your wrist. Okay? So instead, pull that back a little bit so that instead of you were on the edge of there, and you're actually, I think it was, how did it-
Which way was it? Was it this way?
Your hand was on your knee,
Okay, and then this
and
hand.
your wrist was on your knee. Keep going like that.
Like that.
Instead of doing that, pull it back like that.
I see.
I love the angles.
Yeah, well, that's. We're gonna hit that one. All right, 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? What are we seeing over here, though?
Penguin bananas.
Yeah,
So-
still dangling.
That's perfectly fine. Okay, so let's edit this just a little bit. This is brilliant. I really like that a lot. This
So-
hanging over the edge is going to be a problem because whether you have it a banana or whether you have a stick, it looks awkward.
Move it to the
Right.
side like that.
So instead of doing that, why don't you just pull the whole thing back and have it on top like you did. There you go. Perfect. What do you know? Let's give that one a work. I think I caught you before you were ready for it.
Yeah,
The
my
hands
eyes might be closed. That's
But
okay.
look at the hands. This was a little clawy. So what can we do about that? The claw is this. This one.
Oh.
Exactly. I love this as a solution to so many things. This solves so many issues. Just touch these fingers together, right? Bam, bam, bam. Bam, bam, bam. There we are. Okay. Next. Let's go. So this is one of those situations where I really like the wrist over wrist look. But there's a danger in guess what?
I have like weirdly like floppy wrists too. Like this is not.
So almost always, when we're talking about wrist angle, right? So you've got two basic, well, three options. You can have straight on, which like we did with when we started, that was a straight on, smooth wrist. It elongates the arm, make everything look beautiful. You can hardly go wrong with that. This is, you want to bend this as much as possible and to keep this straight as much as possible. That's a go-to easy answer. If you want variety though, this is rarely the best answer. This, you can look at. This gives you more options for flexibility, options for beauty. This just looks odd to me. So, with that in mind, what can you do to go from this to this? Beautiful. Right now, I didn't use beautiful. It's beautiful hands right there. Perfect. Nice. So for me, also, I love the symmetry. The two hands there are about the same size as the face, symmetrically opposed. And we, with the little skin there, nice line. Questions, comments? Do you believe me?
Believe you.
All right. Do a couple more things with hands while you're sitting. I talked about giving your hands a job. One of the easiest things you can do is play with your hair, play with your outfit. Right. But it also can go badly wrong. Right. And so one of the things that with playing with hair that goes wrong, in my opinion, is this. Have you seen this? Have you done this? So playing with hair needs to be inside the hair or playing with hair for real, down here. That looks beautiful in my opinion. I think that looks stunning, especially if you're drawing attention to your hair, doing a hair commercial, playing with your hair and looking at what you're doing, drawing attention with both your hands and your eyes to your hair. Fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. This, oh, I've got a headache. Not so fabulous. Okay? So what can you do to draw attention to your hair? You have fabulous, fabulous hair.
Is that too Barbie, or is that like?
You do what you think, and then we're going to refine it. Okay. That's not. I want to be more reassuring than just saying okay.
Just okay.
So the whole purpose is like in a commercial shoot to draw attention to. We're using our hands to draw attention, right? So by nature of you pulling on your hair, you're drawing attention. That's something. What's distracting though is when you're looking away. So you're sending a mixed message. It's almost like the I'm bored in class pulling on your hair, as opposed to I love my hair.
Gotcha.
Make sense?
Yes.
So let's take a look at this the way we're seeing it. So we have the eyes looking away. We have a few issues with the way the hands are structured, but largely speaking, the biggest concern is the disconnect between the story you're telling with your eyes and the story you're telling with your. We did the same thing you just did. I'm not going to change anything else yet. But I just want you to have your eyes engaged with what you're doing. Okay? You can go. Perfect. I'll see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Now all of a
sweet.
sudden, this is no longer I'm bored in class twirling my hair. It's I love my hair. I have great hair. You should buy this hair product. Okay? What do you see that I'm going to complain about? Any questions? Any thoughts?
Oh, the hand placement flaw. Is that what that is? I can't remember.
You can't see it. I know. You're not involved in the game. You're just the So the same thing you did. I love the pose. I love the way you did your head. I would love the way that it was engaged perfectly. The only thing I want you to do is instead of having your hand on your hair like this hand on this hand like this, exactly. Twist your hand around so that I can see hair throughout your hand. You don't need to twist the hair around the hand, but instead of having hand on hair,
Just have it the other way.
have hand on
Got
it.
it.
Exactly. Perfect. I love my job. You can do that again?
Yes.
Nope, I need to twist it all the way around.
It's like so.
And do that with your hand closed, and you'll have it. That's it. Take a look.
Yeah.
That's a shot I could sell.
It's
Yeah.
really nice.
So, as a model, how do I work with a photographer? Like, what should I do when I first come in?
Wow, it's a big question. I think from my perspective, the most important thing is that we develop enough of a confidence in our working relationship right away. And that's going to start before you actually come in. We're going to have a conversation about what you can expect in terms of the deliverables, what the style of the shoot is going to be, all of those mechanical things so that when you come in, you are not coming in just out of the blue. You should be able to expect from me to treat you well and with respect at all times, period. It's not like the Wild West days where all that matters is the final product and nothing else matters. It matters that you have a good experience. So you should expect that. You should demand that. From my perspective as the photographer, I should also expect and demand that. I expect that you come in prepared. I expect that you show up on time. I expect that you come in ready to do the job. I expect that this is a collaboration. There are certain elements that I know are important for the shoot. But unless there's an outside person paying us, in which case we're both beholden to them, I expect that you're going to come up with some ideas, and I'm going to have some ideas, and together we're going to come up with something better than either of us would have come up with on our own. Does that make
Yeah,
Does that kind of
I
answer your
follow.
question?
Yeah.
What other things are you thinking about, or any of you concerned about, or want to talk about?
What kind of advice would you give to someone who's either just starting out or is not really comfortable in their own body and not really comfortable posing, or kind of has awkward poses, doesn't really know how to use their hands and everything like that? What are like 2 or 3 like main tips that you would give?
Wow. Well, the first thing I would suggest is mirror work. You know, it is a hard thing, especially if you're self-conscious or you're concerned. It is a hard thing to come in and be exposed. And I don't care what the situation is. If you're letting a photographer take your picture, you're exposing yourself. You're being exposed. So it is, I admit, a very difficult thing, especially if you're very shy or insecure. But there's a lot of things you can do to mitigate that. The first one is practice in the mirror. Get used to how you actually look. Set up your phone and do some selfies. It won't be the same, but it will be close enough that you can get a sense for, okay, if I look like this, it's going to be terrible. And probably most importantly is be willing to look terrible. You know, we work in a digital world. We can take 1,000 pictures and throw them all away. If you have confidence in your photographer that they're not going to do something stupid or irresponsible with your pictures, be free to be wrong. Be free to be ridiculous. Take the bad picture, because that's the only way you're going to get to taking some good pictures, is if you're willing to just go, blah, this one didn't work. So freaking what? You know? That does take a certain amount of confidence, because you want to make sure that your photographer has a process by which those outtakes that you don't want out there get destroyed, and they're not, you know, you just want to have confidence that you're not going to be abused in that way. But assuming all of that's in there, you got to be willing to just be bad. Be bad. And I know that's easier said than done. I have worked with a lot of people that I've said, it's okay, let's take some bad pictures. And they're like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. So I understand that is much, much easier said than done. As Mary Poppins said, pie crust promise. Easily made, easily broken. So I get that. But if you can sort of practice in the mirror, do some selfies, and really intentionally try and say, I've got confidence, I know this, I trust this photographer enough that I can make some bad pictures so that we can get to the good pictures. That would be my best guess. What else? What's on your mind?
I have a question for you about getting into this industry as an older actress and model. So as you know, I started in this industry when I was 50 years old, and I know a handful of people that are my age that are interested in it. Yeah. And I just say, just go for it. You know, you don't have to know everything, but you know, just take a step. But some people don't feel confident in their looks, and I say that if you feel good and you're vibrant enough, I think this is a good opportunity for you. So what advice do you have for the older generation?
Oh, what a
Not that you're
question.
Older.
Yes, I am. Oh, I love this. Most of the challenge that I see with new models and actresses and actors of a certain age has nothing to do with how they look, nothing to do with their skill set, and only everything to do with their mindset. It's harder, and I know this because I live it, it's much harder when you get older to start new and not be good at it. It's much, much harder to be willing to be a beginner, because you've spent decades used to being kind of becoming the expert at something.
Mm-hmm.
And to start over, especially in something where you're so out there and everybody judges you all the time,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to have the confidence to say, I know I'm a beginner.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm 50, 60, 70 years old, but I'm willing to accept that. That's the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what they look like.
Right.
It's never what they look like. There are so many amazing roles for people that have character, you know, and I mentioned before about the whole eyebrows thing, and the people that are, you know, you put the Botox in and you can't express. The expression is so much more valuable to me than the look. Come on, it's Photoshop world. I can make the look. But if you don't give me the expression, I got nothing. It is so, I think the opportunity is amazing for older people in this industry. Amazing. We were talking a bit on break about fitting for fashion and how these one-off outfits are not made for a wide variety of body sizes. But they certainly could be worn by somebody of the right body size who's 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity is enormous, enormous out there, I think, for people with the right mindset who want to do this at an older age.
Thank you.
What would you say to models who may feel uncomfortable during the set, or maybe just the vibe isn't there? Like, how would you go about,
You guys are killing
making
me with
that
these
good?
questions. So there's two answers to this, and they're really, really important answers, in my opinion. It's all my opinion anyway. The first one is, if it's not just uncomfortable, but if it's wrong, leave. There is no job, there's no set, there's no anything worth that. So leave, just walk out. You do not need to be in a situation that's that uncomfortable. The flip side of that is, we live in a world, and we're cross-generational in how we do things, that it is very easy to get offended about something. And I think we all need to cut each other a lot of slack about that. So specifically, kind of what I mean is, if you're working with a photographer and he says something that, or she says something that's offensive to you, if it's across the edge, that's different. Get up and leave. That's a different thing. But if it's just creepy, look for patterns. Is this a pattern, or was it just a one thing? And we give each other a break. You know, none of us are perfect, and some of us are learning because we grew up in the 1970s.
Or 60s.
So it's, you know, I think we need to give each other a break and accept the fact that we're not all in the same place to be able to be that perfect all the time. That being said, if it's really wrong, get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
Do not even think twice about just walking out and saying, this is not going to work. But if it's not that, okay, take a step back and say, all right, is this a pattern, or is this just a thing? If it's just a thing, keep going. If it's a pattern, it's okay. Maybe don't do that again.
Out of everything we've learned today, is there something you think we should learn and master first compared to the others?
The thing that is the biggest difference maker, in my opinion, across the board, is mastering what you're thinking about when you're shooting. If you can have control over what's going on in your mind, and you don't let it wander or think about the groceries or the laundry or the other stuff, you will look better all the time. Even if none of the things we talked about work, you will always look better. If you master all those little bits and pieces, but your brain isn't quite right, you'll always look a little weird, a little awkward. She looks great, but I'm not, there's something not, that's it. That's what it is. When I'm culling pictures, in other words, I've taken 1,000 pictures in a shoot, and I'm trying to pick out the 100 that I like, that's what I look for things like autofocus, obviously, blah, 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 just mechanically bad pictures. But what I'm looking for is there spark? Is there light? Does this person look like they're engaged in this conversation that we're having with the audience, or not? And if there isn't, it's out of there. I just don't have any use for those pictures. You guys have been so fabulous. I feel so blessed and so lucky and so fortunate to know you guys.
Oh,
And I
we
thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
And,
You're the best.
Always learn it. Always learn.
Always learning from John.
and that's it.